Hey guys, thanks for joining me in another video. It's Odly Otter here, and in today's video we're going to be doing the second part in our series, and this video actually is part of a playlist of a series of my home server setup. And if you don't know what's going on, in the cards at the top you'll see a playlist for what's happening. You can start right in the beginning with what we're doing, but the first things that we need to do is, for our home servers, we need an operating system to start with. And that's what this video is about. This video is going to be us installing our operating system. And our choice of operating system in this series is going to be Xubuntu. So how would we get that set up in the first place? Well, you just go to the website, you choose the file that you want for the operating system, like Xubuntu, and we're using 20.10, sorry. And you would take that file, you would then run it in another program to write it to a DVD if you really wanted to, or what most people do is we write it to flash drives. So this little guy here, we'll plug this into Alfred, we'll wipe the current stuff off of the drive, and we'll install a brand new fresh operating system. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I can't capture what is currently going to be happening on Alfred as we install an operating system, but we need to keep this series going, and the first step that we need to do is an operating system. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to virtualize the install of our operating system in a VM, just so you can see how to do that and where we are currently. So the next scene is going to be us doing exactly that, installing Xubuntu 20.10 onto a computer. Okay, what has come up right now is actually what should come up if you've chosen the correct boot device, like the flash drive that we mentioned earlier. This comes up, says what option do you want. It's going to choose the first one now. Is now going to boot into a live version of Xubuntu. Well, first, actually what it's going to do is blink this little icon on the screen, and then it's going to do what is called a system check on the installation media to make sure that the installation media is healthy. If it's not healthy, then you can have problems with your installation, things can go all wacky. So it does a check to make sure everything's healthy before it does install, and then it will proceed to a live environment where we can actually carry on the install. I'm going to fast forward this part. You don't need to see this right now, but just know that this takes a little bit of time to make sure that everything's good and healthy before it moves on to the next step. And I will just cut now, and the next part that you'll see is what it looks like when you carry on with the installation. The install check was fine. The install media is healthy. Had some text that ran up that I've skipped and cut out. Once that's all done, you basically end up on a screen that looks like this. I know this is not the most slickest of graphics. I know it looks a little bit, maybe it's a little bit blurry on your side, but yeah, I'd rather have it like this. The other option is that we have it too small, and then you guys can't see properly what I'm doing on the screen. So I've zoomed in a little bit here on the VM. You get three options. First, you get a welcome here. If you want to change your language, if you have something that you're a little bit more familiar with, you can go ahead and do that there. You have another option to try Xubuntu and install Xubuntu. What are these two options? Well, the benefit of a live CD is that I can click on try Xubuntu now. It will drop me then into a live desktop environment. Doesn't touch anything on your hard drive, doesn't do anything yet. And in that environment, you can go ahead and see what is installed by default. So you can play around in the terminal. You can see if you're going to get used to, or you can get used to basically what that environment is going to be like when you do the actual install. You can use that to access your actual hard drives if you have more than one in the computer that you're working with. And it's a good way to check that everything in your computer is going to function in this type of environment. So your network card, in terms of Wi-Fi, in terms of your actual LAN, if you want to be able to make sure that those are all working, or your graphic cards is all working and you're not going to have any problems, clicking on try Xubuntu is probably your best option. Then you can go check out the drivers and stuff like that. I'm not going to dig too much into that. If you are a little bit uncertain and you want to know some more, you can drop it down in the comments and I'll explain it to you there, or I can make another video on that. We know what we're doing. I know that this is going to work on Alfred, so I'm going to click on install Xubuntu and I'll go ahead. Right, so here we are on a screen that is basically saying what kind of keyboard layout do you have. So some of you will know this, that you get different keyboards on your side of the walls, and you'd have to just make sure that you're choosing the one that works. I just go ahead and type in QWERTY, and then if I can see that it says QWERTY and not QWERTZ, put an @. I know that the keyboard that I'm using is the same on this one here. That's just a nice healthy check. I use a normal standard keyboard, so that should be fine. If I was in the UK or Germany or something like that and I had a QWERTZ one, that might be a different story. but everything is where it needs to be. So I'm going to click on continue. Now we get two options. Do you want to download updates while it installs? We won't do every single update that the operating system needs. But this is a good way to get started so that you save some time afterwards. Or you could also select to not allow that, and then you do it afterwards. This option over here that I've just ticked is to install third-party software. This is if you have a graphics card or Wi-Fi and the default version of the operating system you're using doesn't come shipped with the drivers and it needs to download those separately. You click on that. Generally a good idea to click on this unless you are very passionate about not using propriety, I can't say that word, unless you're passionate about not using closed source drivers. Then if that is the case, don't tick it. I'm going to click on continue. And you'll come to the next screen. And here's our options. Do we want to erase the disk and install Xubuntu on it? Let me just, as you see here, red warning. This will delete pictures, videos, documents, music, anything that is installed, programs and otherwise, on the hard drive that you're working with. The one that you choose, you will be erasing everything off of it by doing this. You will format that drive, install the operating system fresh. So please be aware of that before you carry on. If you need to have that information backed up on a separate drive, please do that. If you're willing to just blow everything away and start brand new without any of the data that is on it, then you can go ahead. But yeah, just be aware of that. And advanced features is where you can go ahead and say, do you want to use LVM with the new Xubuntu installation? Do you want to erase this disk and then use ZFS as the file format? Then go ahead and do that. If you need more explanation, again, hit me up in the comments. We can talk about it. And something else. So if you want to basically go ahead and say, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know how partition managers work. And I want to carve out a certain part of it for my operating system. And I want to carve out another part of it just for my data. Then choose something else. We're just going to go ahead and do a complete vanilla install of it right now. Here it is basically saying, okay, cool. Just be aware. This is what's going to happen. Are you sure you make those changes? Click on continue. And we go ahead. If you had multiple drives, then yeah, I think the ZFS would be a good option because you can have better redundancy on your file system structure. Again, this is just one drive and it is just a VM, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Choose where you're from. This obviously picked up the fact that I'm actually in Johannesburg, South Africa, and that is okay. If you're in another part of the world, then make sure you choose the right location. And we're going to name this something. So I'm just going to call this Odly VirtualBox. And I'm just going to give this the password of password. Yeah, I know it's weak. Oopsie, I typed that wrong. Password. Again, this is a temporary setup. This is a VM, so I'm not too worried about this information. Go ahead, take your time. Come up with the name that you want to have your user. Odly works fine here. If you have a computer name that you want to use, then, name it something nice here. And that should be it. Type in a password that is easy to remember. This is going to be your administrative account password moving forward. It's going to be the password you use when you log in. You can choose if you want it to log you in automatically or not. But please remember the password that you choose. You do need it when you need to make changes, like you would on Windows. Unless you're an administrator. Yeah. Please remember your password. You need it to make installation changes on your computer as an administrator. A way that Ubuntu and Linux work. Xubuntu, sorry. If you want to make any significant changes to the operating system, you have to make sure that you have a password to verify that you know what you're doing. This is basically a normal screen that comes up where it basically says, thanks for choosing us. And then there's a whole bunch of slides here that we'll go through. You can go ahead and read these in your own time. Join the community, stuff like that. And here at the bottom, you'll see it'll give you a progress bar on what it's actually doing. So almost finished copying all the files, and it shows you here just the text of what's actually going on. You don't have to go ahead and read that. At this thing, what you can do is get up, go make yourself some nice coffee, get yourself a rusk, get yourself some biscuits, have a quick snack, and you can wait basically until this is done. Again, I'll cut it here. You guys don't need to see me sitting here staring at a screen waiting, and then we'll come back once it's done. Okay, that took about maybe 8 minutes for me to complete the install. You then pop up with the screen. Not much you can do here. You got one choice. The install's complete. Go ahead and click on restart now. And the spinny circle comes back. Oh, there's a funky tech I love. I love watching that text run. That's a me thing. Okay, it's going to go ahead and ask you to eject the install media, and then you go ahead and press enter. Okay, we are at one of the first screens where we can actually start working. You can see here the name that I gave my user has appeared. It says it's Odly, and the password for this was password. Again, this isn't my real one. This is a VM. Obviously, Alfred's got a separate password, which you don't need to know. Okay, my password, not yours. Click on login. Here we are now at our desktop environment, and as you can see, you got your couple icons here, file system, etc., and you can already start going and navigating around. If you have not used Xubuntu, if you have not used Ubuntu before, or any of these kind of things, just go ahead and start exploring, right? The best way to learn is just to have a look around. If you have a separate file system, you'll be able to see your different drives here. Starting at the top right, I just want to show you guys, you could see date and time information, your audio controls if you have any audio. Don't have my mic patched in here, but it thinks I do. But anyway, that's fine. This other icon over here, I don't think anyone's really going to use this. This is just presentation mode. So if you really wants to, we could just remove that. This little arrow going left and right is your actual internet connection. So here you'll see a wide connection, VPNs if you want to set that kind of stuff up via the network manager, connection information, edit connections. If you have a Wi-Fi adapter in, the icon might be different. It might just be a Wi-Fi symbol, and you could edit and add passwords, etc. by clicking on it, left clicking on it over there. Do not disturb if you just want to make sure you don't get any funky notifications while you're working. And here on the top left, this little icon here, the Xubuntu icon, is basically like a start menu that you guys might be familiar with. And you can go ahead and you can see anything that is, and everything that is installed. By clicking on all applications, you can see everything that's installed. I've already gone in here, clicked on appearance, and changed from this gray bird to gray bird dark. I generally look for the dark themes. Already made that change earlier. I did one restart and came back just to make sure things were fine. But you can go ahead and change your icon set as well. So I'd like to have something like this one. I could do it. And you can see it just immediately updates them there. These icons are changing to whatever I choose. That looks cool. Let's leave it like that. Anyway, this is where we'll start to get familiar with everything we have. If you go to your system over here, you can see a few things. You go to settings, you can change. This is a good place to go check those additional drivers that we mentioned previously. We click on that. You'll see your additional drivers that are installed. If you need to make sure that you've got your closed source drivers enabled, this is where you do it. Updates, how frequently things update, etc. Generally, you don't need to worry about this. The defaults are very good, very well set up. But if you're the type of person who wants to just go ahead and check or go ahead and tweak it just a little bit, this is where you'll go ahead and do that here. Okay, great. I'm not going to worry about anything there. If you want to go ahead into Software Center, this is where you'll click on it. Once you click on the Software Center, it comes up in this weird like maximized mode that is off center. So I normally just double click on it and then adjust it here. Or just double click on it to make it big. That's up to you, just to figure out how to make sure you can see everything on the screen. For some reason, the Software Center, maybe it's just on my VM, doesn't always seem to pick up the size of the screen properly. So you have to just get it right. Cool. That will give you a list of everything that you can install. And then software updates. It should be under settings, I'm assuming. Software updater. This will take us back to the screen that we were on, actually. Yeah, this will do a check generally for stuff that's installed. While that runs, the other thing I want to show you, if you click on this icon, this is what's super helpful. You can just start typing. So I like to have a terminal open. Most of the stuff I do is via terminal to get things installed. This is where it'll do it here. Back in the software updater, if you click on that, and click on the little details, it'll tell you everything that needs to be installed. So this is the stuff it's already picked up that it needs me to do. I'll click on install now, and it'll do it there. Alternatively, we can do it through the terminal by typing in sudo apt get update, and then I normally do those symbols and signs and go to sudo apt get and then upgrade. If you type this in, it will ask you for your password. You type in the password, and that string basically says check for all updates, check for anything that on the software that can be upgraded, and it'll give me a list of everything. And then you have the option yes or no to install those. So let's see what it does. Okay, there we go. So that is actually a long list of things that can be updated. So I normally hit that by the terminal. Software updater does do most of this updates for you as well. So if we look and we compare the two, you'll see that. Let's not worry about that right now. Go ahead, type in sudo apt get update and upgrade, or do your updates via your software updater. So we have all of the information. I'm just going to close this out here. First things I normally do, you have to get things up to date and healthy, right? That's definitely important. Go ahead, do your updates. Then we'll move on in the next video. You'll see here, we'll go look in the things in our software install packages, and we will go ahead and start building our VPNs. We're going to, next video will most likely be on our dynamic DNS versus zero tier. And in that video, you will see me discussing zero tier as we set it up in this environment. Again, I'm not sitting at this screen daily, looking around and playing around. I get it up to date, and then I start installing my stack that we're going to do in this playlist that you can check here. If you look at the playlist, you can see the videos we've done previously. You can see the next one for zero tier if it's out. If not, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell button, and you'll be able to see when those come up. That's some classic YouTube stuff. Hit the like button as well, guys, please. If you like the stuff that I'm doing, if you like this series, hit the like button. It does help me to know that people actually like what I'm doing here. So that's it. Basic install, do the updates. It will ask you to restart, do the restarts. Get comfortable with the environment, and we'll see you in the next video as we go ahead and check out zero tier and dynamic DNS. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Till then, live long and rock on. It'll take us into a Windows